Hello and welcome to a new unbiased gear review. Today we are reviewing a Kiesel K7. So we have some beautiful specs on this guitar. Turning it over, we have a swamp ash body with a 7-piece walnut, Purpleheart, flame maple, and then also centerpiece of walnut neck-thru body construction. We have a Birdseye Maple fretboard and a flame maple headstock cap and body cap as well. We have a Hipshot bridge, Kiesel Lithium pickups, and some Kiesel branded locking tuners as well. All in all, some pretty nice appointments on here, and what makes the K series so special is that a lot of these appointments you get as standard options on this K series model, which is pretty cool. So playability wise, I feel like this guitar is absolutely just an incredible piece of equipment. I've had it in my possession for a few weeks now, borrowing it from the owner, and I'm kind of in awe of it. It plays really, really fantastically. It's got the thinner neck profile on here, which is really, really nice. It's not as thin as like something from Ibanez, but it does have these really, really soft shoulders on it that allow for you to kind of easily wrap your mitts around this fretboard and around the neck. It just feels really, really good. The tung oil finish on the back of the neck is another standard feature with the K series, and it feels very, very nice having that kind of almost bare wood feel to it. In comparison to other Kiesels I've played, like for instance Chad's Vader that he loaned me for a previous video that I did, it does feel a little bit different on the back of the neck. The owner thought that might be because of maybe a lack of oil, and I do not believe that to be the case at all. I feel it's more down to just the different wood types that are on the back of this neck versus Chad's Vader, which is maple and Purpleheart on the back. This is a lot of walnut on here, and it does have a different feel to it. But yeah, playability wise, this thing is fantastic. The cutaway here is super low, so you have very, very easy access to all the higher frets. Going up and down the fretboard, there's no, I was going to say there's no protruding fret edges, but it does feel just a little obvious right here. But besides that, everything else is feeling really, really good. It is stainless steel frets, which I love stainless steel frets. It's not just because of uh, ease of dexterity, but it's also because, when you're playing nickel frets, the standard type that you find on many guitars, if you start to do bends or like vibratos, eventually you get a little bit of friction that's giving you pushback. But with stainless steel, you just don't get that. And add to that, stainless steel frets are just more durable over time. So, hey, kudos to you. As for how this thing sounds, there's some really exceptional tone woods here, the walnut in the neck and the swamp ash in the body. The maple top tends to bring out a little bit more of the top end, which is pretty cool. But all in all, it's a very, very well-rounded instrument in terms of the woods that were used. The pickups, I've never been the biggest fan of the Kiesel Lithiums, but I have to say this is probably the best sounding set of the Lithiums that I've gotten my hands on. They sound rather nice. It's not as awesome as the incredible Carvin M22 SD pickup, but these still sound rather good. There's a lot of oomph in there, not as much palm mute punchiness as the Carvin M22 SD pickup, but still it's there. And also these pickups are rather articulate. That's something I would never ever take away from them. This is just probably the best I've actually heard these pickups. That bridge, or rather that neck pickup, sounds very spanky. It's got a very vintagey tone to it. There again, just really, really different from the other lithiums that I've tried in the past. It almost makes me wonder, and I'm sure I'll get comments on this, but it almost makes me wonder if there's a bit more inconsistency with how the lithiums are wound. Because this pickup set almost sounds like, I don't know, it just sounds really, really enjoyable. It sounds like a perfect halfway point between a Seymour Duncan's just inherent ballsiness and DiMarzio's high output articulation that they're kind of known for. It's not bad by any stretch. I've never been a fan until, honestly, this guitar. But these actually sound not bad at all. Yeah, not bad. I actually really dig how this thing sounds. Now, as far as overall build quality goes, there were a few things when this guitar was initially received by the owner that had to be called out. A lot of them were kind of aesthetic pieces. It wasn't really anything that was affecting playability or anything, but there just were a few things here or there that were a little bit off, especially considering that this is a guitar that is about $2,700 standard with just the standard appointments, but there were other options that were added onto this instrument that made it a $3,500 instrument. And I know that it was a $3,500 instrument because I have all the spec sheets right here. So, not including sales tax, it was $34.49. A lot of that can be attributed to the beautiful, beautiful Arctic finish on here. Purple Arctic. Purple Arctic. And then in addition to that, another $200 for this Kiesel-treated fretboard, which, I'm going to be honest, that's just kind of bullshit. Like, who the hell thought that it was a great idea to dye a fretboard? I'm sorry. I think this looks ugly, and I'm kind of curious to see what the durability is going to look like over the course of many years of playing this thing. I'll bet you that after a while, that sucker's just going to wear right off. Some people are probably going to think, oh, well, that's cool. It's got this sort of like kind of relict, antiquated look to it by having the finish rub off. I think it's going to look pretty horrendous. As it stands right now, I think it just kind of takes away from the overall vibe of the guitar, honestly. To have a purple board with honestly, like, I can see the figuring of this fretboard. It's a beautiful Birdseye fretboard. Why not just leave it plain? I think it will look absolutely fantastic, especially with the fact that you've got more of the slightly natural finish popping out along the sunburst edges of this finish. I don't know. That's just me, I guess. That's all aesthetic. A few other things that are aesthetic on here is there's certain sections where you can kind of see that the paint masking wasn't the best. There's a little bit of bleed over one side or the other. When the guitar was originally received, we had some issues with the K inlay at the 12th fret. It appeared that it was cut way too small for the actual slot that it was put into, and the excess was just filled in with epoxy. Just a little tacky. It's some people it might not bother so much, but for an instrument that is about $3,500, a little bit more care should have been put into that, as well as into the side dot inlays. There are lumen lace side dots on this. From here up to here, all the lumen lace side dots are absolutely perfectly set. There's no problems whatsoever. And then starting up here at the 17th fret and moving up all the way to the 24th, you just start to see that the routes that are in there to place the lumen lace dots in are really kind of jagged and kind of shoddily done, honestly. The excess was filled in with epoxy there again, and this was a point of conjecture between the owner and also with Kiesel Guitars themselves. He sent this guitar back to have a few things fixed up, such as the finish work on the edge of the fretboard, which, that, can we say that that was adequately taken care of? That's up for a little bit debate. There was a little bit of a gouge in the headstock already from the moment that he first received it. And by all accounts, this was packaged really well, so that probably happened at the factory. Whatever, Kiesel still took care of that. That's awesome. A few points on them. They also found a string ferrule that was sticking out a little bit more than it should have. They took care of that. Once again, a few points to them. One other thing that they fixed as well was that there was a chunk missing out of the nut, which I'll show you the picture of as well. They took care of that, fixed it, no problem. Kudos to you. Where there was a bit of a problem, though, was with regards to these side dot inlays. According to the conversations that went back and forth between the owner and with Kiesel Guitars, they just couldn't see the issues. I'm looking at them right now with my naked eye, no like camera magnification or anything like that, and I can see them plain as day, that there's something fucked up about the routing for these inlays. Would it be something that would bother most people? Maybe not. $3,500 instrument, you know what? If the customer thinks it's an issue, give them the benefit of the doubt. Take a look at it. You took a look at all the other things that the owner called out and you fixed them, but really you're going to just kind of let that slide. You're not even going to give it a second's thought. That's a little off-putting for the customer experience with regards to Kiesel guitars. That being said, looking at the rest of the email conversation, I think that for the most part, Chris, Jeff, I think that they did handle the situation adequately for most of the other issues. It's just that particular thing that did not get addressed, and that did not get addressed properly. So my overall impression of this instrument is that it honestly is a fantastic guitar. I think, in all honesty, as far as the overall finished product of the guitar is concerned, and the overall playability is concerned, I like Kiesel. I like how they play, I like how they feel, and to a great extent, I like how they sound. I wish that the Lithium pickups were a little bit more consistent from one guitar to the next. I just don't really care for the Lithium pickups in terms of how they normally sound like and how inconsistent they are. This guitar was kind of an exception. It sounded fantastic. In terms of little things here or there, that's where I do take a little bit of an issue here. This was a $3,500 guitar, $2,700 with bone stock appointments on it. So yeah, a lot of what drove the price up was the finish work, the color treated fretboard, and a few other things here or there. There's certain things that can drive up the cost of this instrument without necessarily being anything more than aesthetic. But for how much money is going into this thing, there should have just been a little bit more care put into it before it even left the factory. And then the customer service piece is another thing entirely. Looking at what was said between the owner and the company is a little disheartening. And then to send it back, receive it again, and have virtually no communication between the owner and the company as far as like, when was it received? When was it shipped? You know, are you guys looking at it? What are you finding? That sort of thing. Nothing like that was really going on at first, until eventually the owner kind of pried that information out of them. That's just a little weird from a customer service standpoint. I mean, I work in customer service too, and if a customer has a problem, I'm trying to keep them informed every step of the way. I'm not just, okay, I'm going to surprise you with what I've done to solve the problem. You gave me the problem. You've listed all the bullet points, all the things I need to look at. Here's what I'm going to do to fix it. And okay, this is what I've got done up to this point. And okay, this is what I've got done up to this point now. And okay, your guitar is finished. Let me send you some pictures so you can give a final inspection. Okay, cool. You signed off on it. I'm going to send it back to you now. That's really what should have happened when these problems were first addressed. But that didn't happen. And that's kind of the problem that we have here. So now I hear you asking, Arnold, what are you drinking? Well, today I am drinking the Prioris Grand Cru 2015 vintage. This is the one that is barrel aged in bourbon barrels. They do have a few other varieties that are aged in other various barrels. I believe they have one that's aged in Grand Marnier, which is pretty cool. This one, it's got a bottle date of, 2016, even though it's the 2015 vintage. That's fine. It has a 10% ABV. It pours with barely any head whatsoever. And what little head it has is a very cream color. Has kind of a peachy rosewood kind of look to it. Very dark brown, but a little bit woody. The aroma, I'm detecting a lot of dried fruits in there. Oh, wow. Very rich, very complex. I'm detecting things like a little bit of dried apricot in there, plums, um, maybe a little bit of cherry in there. Um, a very, very oak, woody woodiness to it. Very, very complex flavor. Has kind of a dry aftertaste. Yeah, that's very good. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, it's not my favorite thing in the world, especially because of the dry aftertaste and how it kind of hangs on in the back of your throat a little bit. But wow, that is a very, very complex flavor. Pretty good. Prieurus Grand Cru, barrel aged variety. So thank you so much for taking the time to view this video. I appreciate it. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, leave them in the comment section below. Otherwise, please like and subscribe to this channel. There are many more review videos on the way. And as always, ta-ta! The current owner is selling this instrument. Please look in the description below for the reverb listing on this. Shoot him a message. See if you have any questions. He'll answer them for you. And yeah, that's really all I have to say about the guitar.